Lin Yuxiang never thought his life would change. He was just an ordinary office worker in Taipei, the kind of person no one really noticed, living a repetitive life of crowded subway rides, endless overtime, and constant criticism from his boss. His days felt like they were copy-pasted over and over again with no progress, no excitement, and no future. Even his dreams had long been worn down by reality. Until one night, after working late as usual, he stepped out of the office into nearly empty streets with only the glow of convenience stores lighting the darkness. He muttered to himself, if only life could level up like a game. And at that exact moment his vision flickered. A translucent blue screen suddenly appeared right in front of him. He froze, thinking it was just exhaustion or a hallucination. But the image was far too clear to be fake. The word system activated appeared, followed by his name, level, and various stats. His heartbeat quickened as another notification popped up before he could even process it. Beginner mission. Do 10 push-ups. Reward. Strength +1. He stood there for a few seconds, then let out a small, disbelieving laugh. Well, nothing to lose, he said, and dropped down to do them right there on the sidewalk. And the moment he completed the 10th push-up, a surge of heat rushed through his arms and spread across his body. It felt like something inside him had been awakened. His exhaustion vanished, and his strength had clearly increased. He stared at his hands in shock, realizing for the first time that this might actually be real. From that moment on, his life changed completely. Over the next few days, he threw himself into completing missions, running, studying, working, and each time he finished one, he could feel himself getting stronger, not just physically, but mentally as well. Tasks that once felt difficult became easy. His efficiency skyrocketed. And for the first time, his boss didn't yell at him, but instead nodded and said, "Good job." Those two simple words left him silent for a long time, because it had been so long since he had been acknowledged. And that feeling of effort directly turning into growth became addictive. Within a week, his stats had doubled. The world felt lighter, his life no longer suffocating. And for once he found himself looking forward to tomorrow. But the real turning point came one night when he passed a convenience store and saw a group of thugs surrounding a student who looked like he was about to cry. Lin Yuxiang stopped, hesitating, because this wasn't a game and people could really get hurt. But then the system appeared again with a new mission side quest, "Stop the bullying." He took a deep breath and stepped forward, saying, "That's enough." One of them turned and smirked before throwing a punch at him. But in that instant, Lin Yuxiang saw everything clearly. The movement felt slow, almost like time had slowed down. His body reacted instinctively as he countered with a punch of his own. And in the next second, the attacker was sent flying backward, crashing to the ground. Everyone froze, including Lin Yuxiang himself, because that punch wasn't just strong, it was overwhelming. From that night on, he understood one thing clearly. He was no longer an ordinary person, and the world was no longer normal. Days later, he encountered someone like him for the first time. A man with cold eyes, standing in an empty parking lot. The tension between them was immediate. No words were needed as the man attacked without warning. His speed far beyond that of a normal human, the fight erupted instantly. Fists colliding with echoes ringing through the space. Every hit carrying real pain. For the first time, Lin Yuxiang felt pressure. But he also realized something else. He was evolving even in the middle of battle. Every dodge and counter made him sharper, faster, stronger, until finally he seized an opening and knocked the man down. But as the man lay there, he laughed coldly and said, "You'll regret this." Those words lingered in Lin Yuxiang's mind, and soon enough a woman appeared before him, calling herself an administrator, explaining that the system had existed long before him, that there were many users divided into factions, some who maintained order and others who had lost themselves in power. She invited him to join them, but Lin Yuxiang refused because he didn't want to be controlled anymore. He wanted to choose his own path. However, that decision quickly came with consequences. The system began assigning more dangerous missions. and those who had lost control were becoming something closer to monsters. In one battle, he was nearly killed, the fear almost breaking him. But it also made him realize that power itself wasn't the problem, losing control was. He chose to stay grounded, to remain human, but the world didn't give him time to adapt. One day, all users received the same message. The final trial had begun. The city turned into a battlefield, the strong hunting the weak as order collapsed. And at the center of it all stood the most terrifying existence. The king, whose power surpassed everyone else, capable of destroying buildings with a single strike. For the first time, Lin Yuxiang felt true fear. But he didn't run, because he knew there was nowhere to run. Instead, he pushed himself to the limit, completing every mission, breaking through every boundary, until one battle left him critically injured, lying on the ground on the verge of death. And just as his consciousness began to fade, a new notification appeared, awakening. In that moment, he understood the system didn't give power. It amplified what was already inside a person. And when he stood up again, his strength had fundamentally changed. The final battle unfolded under the night sky. Their clash like a disaster, every impact shaking the air itself. He was knocked down again and again. His body pushed beyond its limits, but he refused to give up. Because this fight wasn't just about survival. It was about proving that he wasn't defined by the system, but by his own will. And in the end, he gathered everything he had: his strength, his resolve, his identity, and threw his final punch. When the king finally fell, the world fell silent. The system appeared one last time, offering him a choice. He could become the one who ruled everything. But after a long silence, Lin Yuxiang refused, because he had finally realized that what truly changed him was never the system, but the part of himself that chose to keep moving forward. And as the system disappeared, the world returned to normal. No one remembered what had happened except for him. And as he walked among the crowd like an ordinary person once more, he knew that this time, his life would no longer be controlled by anything else. Because from now on, his future would be decided by himself. And for the first time, he smiled not out of relief, but out of true freedom. You're on the free plan.